Alright everyone, we are in Cyberpunk 2077 here. We are at 1440p with a 5060 Ti, 16 gigabyte. Just a quick reminder, we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. If you could help me out with that, that would be great. This is just the kind of content that I produce, where I take a random graphics card from the 50 series and pair it up with a random resolution and a random game. So your feedback's important. If you want to see a game and a card at a certain resolution, please let me know in the comments and I'll make that happen. Alright, so what we've got now is just the low settings, no ray tracing, no DLSS, just DLAA, no upscaling, and everything's pretty much bottomed out just with that low preset. So we've got super resolution set to DLAA, and then everything is pretty low or medium. So this is just kind of like the low preset, but I've controlled it because this switches to auto DLSS and I just want it to be DLAA. So that's the only difference. And in the top corner we've got our PCL, which shows our latency, the top right corner. Alright, so we're at 80 FPS, and of course our VRAM allocation is 6.9, so pretty low. That's going to creep up on us as we start to raise some of these requirements though. Just turn the car around. I am on a controller just because I am terrible at driving the car with a mouse and keyboard. Alright, so anyway, let's just keep going around this traffic circle. This is Dogtown, so it's one of the more challenging places to run, especially at night once we turn on the ray tracing. Alright, so you can kind of see our performance here is in the 80s, so we're getting pretty good numbers. Again, 2560 or 2560 by 1440 is our resolution, so just QHD resolution here. Alright, so let's just jump over into the next settings and let's go over to the next preset, which would be medium. I'm going to turn this back to DLSS, turn this back to DLAA. It likes to jump all around on you. Let me just make sure everything stayed how I want it. Alright, so it kicked all this around. Set all that back to the way it was. Alright, let's apply that, and let's try not to hit the wall. Alright, we're at 74 FPS with a little bit of a creep up. We're at 7.1 on our allocated VRAM, so pretty close to 8. This is a 16 gigabyte card. Do not buy the 8 gigabyte model. No one, in my opinion, should be making a brand new GPU with only 8 gigabytes geared for gaming. It's just act like it doesn't exist. That's my advice. So only the 16 gigabyte will be what I will test in any of my videos. Alright, so let's go with medium. Looks pretty good, you know. I mean, we're not ray tracing, we're definitely not path tracing, and we're not using any DLSS at all right now. So let's just kick on the next preset and go up. So we were on medium, let's go to high. Set this back to the proper settings that we had. Transformer model, that's the newest one. That's what I recommend using. No frame gen. Crowd density went up to medium with that preset. Turn film grain off. It looks terrible. Turn all this junk off. Alright, so everything now is set to high down here. And everything up here is how we had it before. Alright, so let's jump back into it. We're still in the 60s. That's kind of nice to see. 1440p, right around 60 FPS. I don't know why that guy did that. I'm only on the wrong side of the road. I can't believe he would hit me like that. Alright, so we are at 7.6 gigabytes of allocated VRAM. Yeah, we're looking pretty good. Only using about half our VRAM right now. There's no DLSS or frame gen or anything like that. This is just pretty much raw 1-to-1 pixels without ray tracing. Alright, let's just keep going up here. Sorry, I'm trying to fight off a little bit of a sore throat, so if you hear me clear my throat a lot, that's why. Alright, so we're at 61 FPS, right around 8 gigabytes of allocation. Alright, so let's just go on to the next one, which I believe is just ultra. We were on high, this is ultra. Kick this back over. Oh, this is so tedious. Alright, so DLAA, everything down here, frame generation stayed off, no ray tracing, crowd density is high. It kicks all this back on, turn that junk off. Alright, so everything down here is set up to high. Some of them went up to ultra, and we are just going to see what this does. So of course this is probably going to dip below 60. Yes, it does. All right, which is not a surprise. I mean, we are at, you know, no DLSS at all, just DLAA, and we are on a ultra preset on an entry-level card. You know, I mean, I'm assuming once we start to put some DLSS into this, we're going to get some really nice viable frame rates to make this card really start to show its value. The DLSS 4 model is exceptionally good, so you know, we'd probably be able to go down to performance even without losing much detail, if any at all. I mean, a lot of times quality DLSS looks better to me than just native DLAA, so no real reason not to use it. It only improves your frame rate and lowers the stress on your card, so it's really a win-win. All right, so we're looking at 8 gigabytes of allocated VRAM here. Let's just take a slightly different path just to mix it up a little bit. All right, and we're in the mid 40s or so. All right, so let's just kick on that very first level of quality DLSS. This is before any ray tracing presets, so we're just gonna check it out here. That's gonna give us up to 81 FPS. Big jump. I mean, that's a really nice improvement there. Makes this game incredibly viable with this card at 1440p for sure. All right, so we're at 78 FPS. Let's just kind of run back down to our normal area over here. So we're at 79. Our allocated VRAM got a nice break with the DLSS turned on. So we're under 8 now because we're running a lower resolution, so it helps our VRAM out. All right, so let's just run over here. All right, let's just go on down to the next preset, which would be balanced. I'm just going to see what that looks like. Let's head down here. All right, so we're in the 82 with a 7.6 allocation. That's nice. Anytime you go down, you're going to get a nice break on that VRAM, which then frees you up to do some frame generation. So DLSS upscaling really goes hand in hand with frame generation, simply because it you know, takes that pressure off of the VRAM so that you can then use it to frame generate. So kind of a nice balancing act there that they've got with this DLSS technology. All right, so we're at 86, 7.6. All right, we're back in my normal area here. All right, it's looking quite nice. The performance is the next setting. Just want to make sure all this is off. Yeah, the film grain just really makes everything blurry for no reason. I really just don't like it at all. All right, so we're on performance DLSS, again, ultra settings. The only thing we don't have maxed out is screen space reflections, and that has a psycho setting. You know, we'll probably try that out right after this because we're at 97 FPS. And in this area, from what I've been able to tell, it really doesn't do a whole lot. You know, it's more situational based kind of setting anyway. All right, so 81 FPS. And yeah, looking quite nice. We're at 8.1 gigabytes of allocation. Mainly just because we're starting to upscale from a lower resolution. So you do get a break on your VRAM overall, but it does bring back a little bit of VRAM use to do that formula to upscale it. So it's not going to be the exact same as running like 1080p native versus 1080p upscaled to 1440 or whatever, or 4K or whatever the you know, target resolution is. That's just kind of how it works. So that's not surprising to see that kick back up just a hair. All right, so at 99 FPS, 95. All right, let's come in here. I always do load game instead. All right, settings. All right, so let's see what ultra performance looks like. And again, everything has stayed the exact same. All we're doing is just going up to ultra performance at 1440. And that gives us 107 FPS before we do any kind of frame generation. Now, I will say that on my end, it's starting to look a little bit soft, but just keep in mind I am on a 4K monitor, so it's not going to be quite as sharp as if you're on a native 1440p monitor. I would assume if you're on a native 1440p monitor, it's gonna look pretty good. because it looks really good here. It's a noticeable difference from that shift. It's just ever so slightly a little bit blurry. And let's just take a look at what our sharpening is set to. Yeah, we could sharpen it all the way up. Oh, that actually improves it quite a bit. So yeah, there you go. Just increase your sharpening and you'll be all right. All right, so some of the textures here are under motion, just a little bit soft, but it's nothing that's like worth giving up frames for, in my opinion. I mean, it still looks really darn good. All right, so we're at 100 FPS right now with 7.3 gigabytes of allocation. And I want to just kick on some ray tracing to see exactly what that will do for us. And because at performance DLSS, when your target is 1440, you're actually upscaling from 720. So probably gonna see what that does as far as going back up to the performance and then just kind of test around there. Actually, you know what? Let's just keep the test nice and clean. Let's go up to quality and let's just turn on ray tracing. And now it's got some settings within ray tracing itself. So we're going to start with medium ray tracing, and we're going to turn these things on. These are some just settings within ray tracing once you enable it. The path tracing is going to remain off for now. So this is ray tracing on with medium, and we're going to go back up to quality and test down from there. Let's just see what this does. Very nice visuals. I mean, going from the difference going from ultra performance to quality was quite noticeable. It's like a slow-boiled frog. I test like every setting along the way, and I don't really notice the big change, but quality definitely looks nicer, especially with that maxed out sharpening. So 50 FPS with your ray tracing enabled looks quite nice. We're running at 47, 48 FPS. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I'm probably just gonna go up one more. My fingers hit the keyboard and exited the focus on the window. So I'm probably just gonna go up one more on our, let's see. Going to go up one more on our DLSS and keep the ray tracing the same because I want to try to see what it takes to get to 60 at that medium setting on our ray tracing. So I would say that balanced gets you there. I mean, you're just kissing 60 sometimes. So we're probably going to go up performance, but yeah, on occasion you'll get to 60. And you know, from a lot of people, unless I didn't have this, you know, FPS meter sitting in front of me, I would say that this is around 60. You know, I mean, with our with just kind of the way it feels, especially being on a controller. I play on a controller quite a bit. I'm a recovering console gamer, so I still play on a controller a lot. But for the most part, this is a really good experience. You know, you're not going to have a bad time at all. It runs perfectly fine. Alright, so let's just go up one more. We're going to go to performance here. Alright, so now this is performance with medium ray tracing. That gets you comfortably around 60. I wouldn't say it's like necessarily blowing past 60, but it gets you comfortably around it. You could absolutely frame generate off this. Oh, there went my hood. So I can't drive anyway, so just bear with me getting through this test. Alright, so we're at 10.3 gigs of allocation. Just, you know, again, this is the 16 gigabyte model. Make sure if you purchase this card, you don't get the 8 gigabyte model. Just pretend it's not real, that it doesn't exist, and you'll be all right. All right, so here is kind of the end of this first little section here. All right, so 68, 70. So yeah, you're pretty comfortably in the 60s. Let's just go one more just because, you know, I'm sure people are curious. So let's go here, ray tracing stayed on. All right, so we've got ray tracing still set to medium. All that junk down there is off. You always got to check it. It likes to trick you and turn it on. All right, so this is 88 FPS on ultra performance. And this looks, you know, a little bit softer. Of course, you can tell. You're upscaling from pretty low resolution. But I will say that ultra performance does look better on 4K than it does here. So, you know, probably wouldn't go much past performance if you're at 1440. If you want a sharp image, because this definitely starts to degrade a little bit. We got some flickering in the road. There's flickering in the palm trees. It's having a hard time doing some of that, you know, maintaining the edges on things. But it still looks fine, you know. I mean, at the end of the day, if you just want to play it, you can get over that stuff, I'm sure. Alright, so 98 FPS, 97 FPS. Alright, so let's jump into the next setting of, let's go with ray tracing set to ultra. So this is not the psycho setting, this is just ultra. And we're going to go back to quality. Alright, and now we do have chapter markers, so if you need to jump around, you can. And everything's also in the top right corner, as far as like all the main settings that you would need to skim through. And our allocated VRAM still under 16, so we're good there. Alright, so let's just jump on to the next level go to the next level of DLSS, which is balanced. Let's hop over into it. Alright, so we're just going to go to balanced. Alright, so this would be balanced DLSS with ray tracing set to ultra. And we're getting a little bit better frames here. Not quite 60, but still looking pretty nice. Alright, so let's just jump around here, come back. And make sure I don't kill that guy. I kill him all the time by accident. Alright, so a little bit of degradation in some of the palm trees, but nothing too terrible. Still looks nice and sharp for the most part. Alright, so we're right around just under 60. So let's go up again. Let's see, go to performance. I really like performance. It upscales it from, you know, half the resolution, so 720 in this case, and maintains a good bit of fidelity. However, performance does look better at 4K because it's upscaling from 1080 on 4K, and in this case it's upscaling from 720, but it still looks good. So 65 FPS again. This is no frame gen, just performance DLSS with ray tracing set to ultra. No path tracing. I'm sure path tracing is going to be almost impossible to run on this card, but we're going to try it anyway. Alright, so let's see, we've got 60 FPS, our allocated VRAM's around 11. That's looking okay. Oh yeah, I got him pretty good. Alright, let's just keep going around here. Okay, just a psycho in a car, don't worry about me. Alright, so let's just jump on to the next one. So we're going to go to ultra performance, and of course ultra ray trace lighting. No path tracing yet. Alright, let's just back on out of that, and definitely a little bit you know, not as sharp. Going to that ultra performance, you do get some nice frame rate bumps though. I mean, looking at 100 FPS at some points, mainly 80s, 90s. So yeah, can you play it? Yeah, you can play it. Worth noting, I am on a 4K monitor, so it's already a little bit blurry to begin with for me, but I'm trying not to comment too much on that. I'm just mainly looking at the flickering of like textures in the road, and flickering in some of the palm trees and whatnot. So yeah, if you're on a native 1440p monitor, you might be doing okay, but you're still going to have some artifacting here and there because you're upscaling from pretty darn low resolution right now. So it can only work with so much that you give it. Alright, so we kind of got the idea of where this is going. Alright, so let's go back to our settings here, and we are going to kick on the next level of ray tracing, if I can find it. Alright, there we go, Psycho, and let's turn on the ray reconstruction. That'll make things look a little bit better. And let's go back to quality. So this is quality DLSS and Psycho ray tracing. We're not even path tracing. This is just Psycho ray tracing. 43 FPS, 11.4 gigabytes of allocation here. All right. Run through here. Try to follow traffic. Where's he going? All right. Try not to like hit everybody. All right. So 41 FPS. We can definitely do better than that. We're gonna have to throw some more DLSS at this. All right. So let's go here and settings. Go down to balanced. Just gonna go through all of it today. All of the settings for this game at 1440p. All right. So 54 FPS. 52. Yeah, I mean, absolutely playable. I mean, I'm in a car to get the speed of the game. You know, obviously, I don't want to just walk around because this allows, it's a little bit more taxing on the GPU to be in a car. Yeah, 50 FPS. In a game like this, can you play this? Absolutely. You know, there's no problem with it. It's not 60, but you know, if you're not looking at a meter, you'll be okay. So this is a performance DLSS, and this is again Psycho ray tracing with performance DLSS at 1440p, 5060 Ti, 16 gigabyte. So we are right around 11.3 gigabytes of allocation. If you're kind of thinking about this card versus a 5070, just keep in mind the 5070 docks 4 gigs of RAM from you. So you're pretty much right at that 12 gigs right now that a 5070 would have. Now your card's going to be a little bit more powerful. You're going to have some more frames in there, but you're flirting with that VRAM buffer a little bit on these settings at 12 gigabytes. But we got 16 on this, so we're okay. All right, so that's about 57. Kind of get an idea where this is heading. All right, so let's go to the next ultra performance setting. All right, so 88 FPS on Psycho ray tracing at 1440p. So turn around here. I'm gonna actually go this way just to get some alternative. I mean, like these barriers look pretty rough. I mean, they're pretty chewed up looking on this setting of DLSS. You know, I don't know if everyone would be happy with the way this looks, but you're definitely rocking some pretty low internal resolution, so it can only do so much. Really, quality and balanced obviously look the best, and performance is absolutely passable. But I would probably only go down to performance if I was on 4K, just so I could upscale from 1080 and not 720. All right, so let's go over here. I finally ran him over. He always jumps in front of me. All right, so here we go. Let's go back to our settings here. We're going to go up to the quality setting, and we're going to turn on path tracing. We're going to bring that down to medium again. So this is medium ray tracing with path tracing on quality DLSS. And as you can see, path tracing is extremely demanding. I mean, this is pretty rough, you know. 29, 27 FPS, that's real bad. I wouldn't even frame generate off of that. There's no way. And our latency is bad too because our frame rate's so low. Alright, so we know that we're going to have to use DLSS in this case. Alright, so let's go up to settings here, and we're going to go to the balanced setting. Let's see what that does. Alright, so we're at 34. That gave us a little bit, made it a little bit smoother. You know, not 60, but not slideshow. Alright, so we're at 12.4 gigs of allocated VRAM, so we're over that VRAM buffer of 12 if you were on a 5070, but we have 16 on this card, so you know, people ask me which one I would recommend. I really don't know. It depends on what resolution and what games you play, but you know, you have to give up a little to go to that 5070 on your VRAM, so which I know why NVIDIA does that. It's so they'll force you to go up to the 5070 Ti to get the 16 back, but that's not what this video is about. It's just a little bit of shady business practice to me, but whatever. Alright, so 35, 36 FPS, 13 gigs of allocated VRAM. Alright, so let's go on to the next level of performance DLSS. I figure this is going to be a little bit better. Yeah, I mean, you're at 40. I would have liked to see a little bit more than that, maybe 50, but 44, 45. Feels pretty good in this game. It's, you know, not a super fast game. It's not competitive. So you don't absolutely have to have 60, but again, just, it's all preference. That's why I show this stuff. Alright, so if we go to ultra performance, I'm assuming we might get 60 out of it with path tracing. Maybe. Oh yeah, there we go. So 68 FPS with path tracing enabled. Nice. And it is pretty chewed up looking. I mean, this is not upscaling in any kind of like pretty way at all. A lot of edge issues. A lot of the palm trees look kind of bad. You can absolutely tell it's being upscaled from a pretty low resolution. So anyway, let's just keep going with the test. Let's go over here and check out. Let's see, where did we go to next? So we need to go to path tracing is on with ray tracing. Okay. So it looks like whenever you turn on that ray reconstruction or turn off the ray tracing, it gets rid of a lot of those options once you turn the path tracing on. So path tracing looks like it basically is, path tracing basically is like the maxed out ray tracing. Alright, so let's kick back over to quality here. Let's just, for a refresher, we're at 28 FPS on quality. So if you really wanted to do path tracing, I would really recommend going up to the 5080 rather, or 5070 Ti 16 gigabyte, the 16 gigabyte 5070 Ti. Either that or the 5080. You know, I mean, unfortunately, I just don't think this is a great experience at this resolution to justify that. But let's just go into our settings for like a recommended kind of what I would do. I would just forget about path tracing. I mean, it's just not possible. I would leave the ray tracing probably on medium because that seems to look okay. Let's go medium there, and I might go up a little bit depending on what this looks like. So medium, and then let's go to performance. Alright, so that looks way better. Yeah, and that would give us the 60 that we're after. So this is medium ray tracing, 60 FPS experience. And then of course you can enable frame generation after this or whatever you want to do. But for the most part, this is how I would probably play this title. And then potentially frame generate from here. You know, it really just, it depends on your taste when it comes to frame generation. We're at 42 milliseconds of latency, around 40, and it will definitely add latency. I mean, that's just the nature of frame generation. So as we can see, we're on performance DLSS. Let me kick that ray reconstruction on because that'll make it look a little bit better. See what that does. All right, sorry for the jump cut there. Had a crash when I set the ray reconstruction on, but we're back. So ray reconstruction is on now. We're at performance DLSS at 1440. Okay, and looking pretty good as far as, you know, our FPS is quite nice. I will say it does require you to give up a little bit of that visual fidelity. Things are a little bit more chewed up looking, but still looks okay. 10.7 gigabytes of allocated VRAM, and let's just go ahead and do kind of like a final setting here, and just check out what all these settings do whenever you kick this ray trace lighting up to ultra, and then we'll go up one more. So again, still over 60. So it looks like the ultra preset isn't too terribly different from the high or the medium rather. All right, so we've just got 65, just under 60, so we're okay now. Alright, so we are good on our VRAM, and then let's just come over here and take a look one more time at what maxed out ray tracing would be, and kind of close up shop after that. If you like this kind of content, again, please subscribe. We're trying to get to that 1,000 before the end of the year, and yeah, if you can help me make that possible, that would be amazing. Alright, so looks like about 60. I saw some dips down into the upper 50s, which don't bother me too much, honestly. I would probably take this game as it is right here, but I would want a little bit more clarity. So I would probably come up to quality and then just turn my ray tracing preset down to just turn all that off and just play it without ray tracing. And that's going to give you a much sharper image, and you're at 72 FPS in one of the harder areas. So you know, this is probably how I would play it. Just personally, I would just sacrifice the ray tracing just so I could get a nice sharp image at with quality DLSS at 1440p. So anyway, that's going to wrap this up. Again, you know, thanks for hanging out. If you like this kind of content, again, please give me a like and a sub, and check out my other videos. The watch time helps me with the algorithm, helps more people find my stuff. And you know, if you like it, thanks for supporting me in all the different ways that you can. And we will talk to you in the very next video. Peace.